Have you decided you want to start a career in SaaS sales, but you're running into some trouble getting past that first round interview to be a sales development representative? Well, you definitely came to the right place because I have interviewed and hired hundreds of SDRs over the past 10 years, and I know everything that hiring managers are looking for and what they're looking to avoid when it comes to hiring a sales development representative. In this video, I'm going to go over some real easy to apply tips that'll help you clearly separate yourself from any other candidate in the interview pool and help you crush your interview and make it to the next round. Hey, my name's Troy Barter. I have over 16 years of sales experience and over 9 years of SaaS sales experience. Over the past 16 years, I've learned everything that you need to be successful in sales the hard way. The purpose of this channel is to help you learn all of the things that I've learned over the past 16 years in a much simpler and easier way so you can become a success way faster than I ever did. If you think that this video is helpful, please make sure to like the video and also subscribe because I'm going to continue to put out more content week in and week out. First things first, when it comes to interviewing to be an SDR, you need to know what hiring managers are looking for and you need to be prepared to actually live the stuff that you rap about. In other words, you need to be ready to deliver on anything that you say that you're going to do in that interview process. So if any of these tips aren't something that you're willing to commit to, don't apply them. Only apply these tips if there's something that you're willing to do if you get hired. Before going over the tips, you need to know what a hiring manager is really looking for when it comes to hiring an SDR. And there's a million different things that hiring managers might be looking for. One company is different from another, but there are two things that are pretty much universal. And that's that they're looking for someone with incredibly strong work ethic and they're looking for someone that's a great culture fit. Those are the two big ones that anyone is going to look for when it comes to hiring an SDR. So I'm going to go over 3 tips that revolve around those two main things that hiring managers are looking for when it comes to hiring an SDR. Again, I've interviewed hundreds of sales development representatives and none of them have ever done any of these 3 things. And if they had done just one of them, they would have easily separated themselves from everybody else in the pool when it comes to what I'm looking for. So if you apply all 3, you should be able to put yourself in some rarefied air and all but guarantee that you're going to be able to move on to the next round. The first tip I'm going to go over I think is helpful, especially if you have no sales experience, especially no sales development experience, and that's to guarantee your activity. This is kind of risky because again, you're going to need to deliver on this if you get hired, but what you're essentially saying is, look, I know that I don't have a lot of sales experience and I can't necessarily guarantee that right out of the gates on day one, I'm going to lead the board for every single one of your sales development representatives in closed won revenue or in completed demos or even in book demonstrations. But what I can guarantee is any activity metric that you track starting day one, I will lead the board. I will be the pace setter for you and I will never let off the gas for the entire time that I'm here. That means dials, emails, anything that you can track, I guarantee that I will lead the board on day one and for the entire time that I'm here. I know that what is important when it comes to being a sales development representative is putting in the activity, and I'm willing to make sure that I lead the board in those things. Not so I can dominate my peers, but so I can be a pace setter that other people would want to follow. I know that I can become a leader day one in those activity metrics, and I guarantee that I'm going to do that starting on day one. That does 2 things for you. The first thing is they know that they're going to have a workhorse if they hire you. People don't guarantee that. And again, this is all in your control. You absolutely can guarantee that. It all comes down to your work ethic, and generally, it's not that hard to beat people. The average SDR does probably 40 to 60 dials a day. You can easily do over 100 dials a day, so it won't be hard for you to get to 70. Same thing with emails, same thing with anything on social media. The other thing that you're doing there is you're not saying you want to kick everybody's ass. You want to be the pace setter. You want to help improve the culture. You want to show that activity works, and you want to help others. You don't want to look down on them by dominating in a certain statistic. If anyone said that to me, I would be borderline trying to hire them after the first interview because that's really all I'm looking for when it comes to a sales development rep. I'm looking for someone that's willing to put that work in. The next thing that I would recommend you do in the interview process is offer to role play with the interviewer on the call. There's been times where I've asked a candidate to role play their pitch with me, but I've never had a candidate offer to do it for me. I've always had to kind of coax it out of them. If you offer to do that, it already shows that you're willing to jump in the pool and you're willing to get down and you're willing to get better and you're not afraid to pitch. You're not afraid to cold call because you're willing to jump in right now before I even ask you to do it. In other videos, I'm going to go over a blanket pitch, different openers that you can do, something that'll help you kind of get your way in there, but it's not hard to find. you can kind of look anywhere for a blanket pitch and practice it, and it'll at least show that you're willing to put yourself out there. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just shows that you're willing to get going, and people are looking for self-starters when they're looking for sales development reps. The last tip that I would give you that I think is incredibly important is to push hard to book the next meeting while you're on that initial interview. Why would you do that? You're interviewing for a role where you book meetings. Why wouldn't you try to overcome an objection? Why wouldn't you try to close them on the next meeting? So if you think the interview is going well when you're vetting them, obviously you're not going to do this if you don't think that it's a right fit for you. If you think that the company is a great fit for you, tell them, say, hey, I'm getting a great first impression from you. Hopefully, you're getting a great first impression from me as well. What I'd like to do is schedule the next round of this. When's the best time for you to get that scheduled? Is later this week good for you? Or do you think next week is going to be better for that? They're almost definitely going to say, oh, that's not the way that things work. We have to vet the other candidates before we do that. And all that you say is completely understandable, but I am interviewing for a role where you expect me to book meetings and overcome objections, so I'm going to take one more run at you. Is there any time that we could tentatively schedule for next week that might help make sure that we've got something on your schedule? Again, you might not book that meeting. It's just the point that you are willing to overcome an objection and try to book that. You're going to be in the back of the head of the person that's interviewing you for the rest of the entire day. They're going to be interviewing other candidates later that day and the next day, and they're going to constantly be thinking in the back of their head, wait a minute, these candidates aren't guaranteeing the activity and that they're going to lead the board in every activity metric. They're not offering to role play a pitch. They're not willing to put themselves out there, and they're definitely not closing on the next interview. They're not overcoming any objections. I want that other person. I want that candidate that was going all the way and was really trying to earn this role. That's the type of SDR that I'm looking for. This is a no-brainer. Let's call him and let's move forward before somebody else does. Again, every hiring manager is looking for different things and there's little nuances to it, but what I can tell you is if anyone covered any of these three things with me, they'd blow me away. I would be ready to hire them more than likely. I definitely would move them on to the next round. Hopefully this has been helpful for you, and if it was, please like this video, share it, and make sure to subscribe because I'm going to continue to put out more content that'll help you land a job and excel at a job in SaaS sales.